Well, didn't expect this today. It's something that was kind of coming together. I'm here live with Sportskeeda Wrestling, Bill Apter, a man who's been in the wrestling business his entire adult life, and something maybe you didn't expect to see happen. TNA, for a long time, it was the number 2 company, but now it is clearly in a direct partnership with WWE. A deal made official today by WWE on WWE.com. A multi-year agreement between TNA Wrestling and WWE NXT, their own developmental brand. Bill Apter, your thoughts? This deal is official, and we'll get more ideas of what this is going to be this Sunday on the. Go ahead.
It was shocking. It was shocking. In the days of Vince McMahon, this never would have happened. I was there during the entire McMahon era, and anytime somebody brought up maybe partnering with another company at all, I'm sorry, we don't do that. It was always WWF, WWE. Nobody else really existed. It was very rare, if anything happened, where they even recognized the NWA champion, maybe 2 or 3 times. To see this, one of the exciting things, in my opinion, is this. They have so much more TV to fill at this point. This is very good, even though TNA is going to stay on Access. But now WWE has a direct line to bringing in their talent. For example, soon we'll be airing right here on Wrestle Binge. We'll be airing your exclusive interview with Tessa Blanchard, who just came back to TNA. Mm-hmm. So now Tessa Blanchard, Jordan Grace, Masha Slamovich, Royal Rumble. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Tessa Blanchard never competed in WWE. She was an extra a lot of the time, but now maybe this will be the time that we will see her in TNA. Also, now it clears the way, so to say, for Joe Henry to maybe make his debut.
I mean, like, this is a big deal, Bill. This is a big deal, but wasn't things going in this direction? TNA and NXT have been sharing talent here and there. Joe Hendry got to challenge for the NXT Championship on a live event for them. He was on TV for quite a bit. Yeah, the Jordan Grace was in a takeover match as well, and we've seen a lot of TNA talent or NXT talent on TNA Wrestling. But the fact that you pull up WWE.com, if you're a lifetime fan, and you see those 2 logos together, and in the press release, it is a WWE press release saying where you can watch TNA Wrestling every week. And you have,
which is amazing, because TNA, as much as I like their shows and everything, TNA needed that little more push from something. And now that they're associated officially with WWE, but the biggest point to me is that without this whole TKO Endeavor deal, and it was just McMahon owned, it never would have happened. So many great things have happened during the Triple H era, or as Penta said, the Penta era. But during this era, it's just amazing to me that politics are going by the side. And now I'm wondering, maybe the next guy to get a call, which wouldn't be a bad idea, would be Billy Corgan and the NWA. They definitely can use a boost in where people can see their talent and their company. Also, some of the Mexican companies and some of the companies in Europe too. I mean, we're seeing more and more with the ID program and Gabe Sapolsky going out and looking at talent now all over the world. This opens WWE up to so much more. And I think for the fans, that this is what Nigel is just telling us. This is great.
Want to hear from fans. You support this, you're against this. I can see some people maybe not being a fan of this. If you just don't want WWE to be considered a monopoly, is this a version of them doing it? But it is clear this is not WWE buying TNA. I don't want people getting the wrong idea about this.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
And it needs to be clarified in that regard. TNA has their own committed schedule. They're going to run their biggest venues they've ran in several years. I interviewed the Hardys last week. They were referencing that. The Hardys have time in WWE. A lot of the
I can't wait. Kevin, let me just interrupt you for a second. I cannot wait to see them come back. And remember, this isn't going to just be NXT. According to the press release, it will be under the WWE umbrella. So to see them coming back into WWE in a ladder match or something like that, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing.
I get the impression that this is mainly NXT and TNA right now. And this is just more of a, hey, this isn't just a thing where we were just working together for a little bit here and there. We're going to do this for years to come. And
yeah, but I think they're going to have some top talent that may wind up on the main roster in Raw or SmackDown periodically. Because remember now, they're really pushing Joe Hendry and several of the other people in TNA to the point where the exposure on NXT would be good, but the exposure on a match in Raw or SmackDown, there's nothing like that in the business. And now what is the feeling in the office of AEW when they hear this? They knew something was going on between the two companies, but you're sitting there at the desk in AEW and you say this is official now. What thoughts go through your mind, Kev?
If I'm AEW, there is a level of concern because I think you and I could talk about this, and we talked about it in the past. In 2019, mind you, the pandemic changed things, but in 2019, with the launch of AEW, Tony Khan has access to a lot of wealth to be able to spend on a wrestling promotion and spend real money in a way that TNA couldn't when they wanted to compete with WWE and be a challenger brand. Now they've just kind of been a very active but very healthy outlier. They've outlasted all this. At one point, TNA and AEW were working together, but from the people I talked to, TNA felt when that partnership just kind of dissolved naturally and amicably that they were not getting what they wanted from it. And now I think it's a little bit more of a longer term. You look at TNA's roster, you have people that have WWE experience that aren't in WWE, like a Nick Nemeth, their champion, like the Hardys we mentioned, and all of the producers that we could talk about as well. But now we look at this and we see that this is more of a, hey, we're going to do this in the long run. And I think you're going to see, as you already mentioned, a lot more people show up on TNA that maybe don't have a spot in an NXT or a Raw or a SmackDown. It may not be all the time, but it'll be some of the time. And also the fact that you don't see WWE doing as many live events. They only do those super sporadically. It's really about the television, the premium live events. Yeah. So now you get those talents more reps. If I'm AEW, can I do that for my talent comparatively? If I want to sign a talent who's newer and they're newer to the business, but I know they have potential, do I want to go to an AEW where there is no
What about Dolph Ziggler coming back?
Exactly. Does it? Yeah. It opens the door for a lot of possibilities here, and we kind of knew this was happening. I just didn't expect it now with the Royal Rumble right there.
And the other thing is now, if you really look at this entire picture, AEW has I've talked about AEW on a lot of the shows that I do, and people say, what do you think of it? I think what AEW has a fine product for a niche audience that would be the current ECW style audience, in my opinion. They're they've got like an ECW crowd there. I don't know how AEW, like you were saying, how they would be reacting, that, you might be concerned, but they want to keep their own pocket, so to say. But I think this ups the concern of them trying to get to WWE level now that there's cooperation between WWE and one of the other major federations. And the other thing I want to find out, and I've got to call in to Jeff Jarrett to find out what he thinks, because as you know, Jeff Jarrett, his dad, and Bob Ryder are the three people that came up with TNA. Look at it now, and Jarrett's solid guy in AEW looking for a title shot.
And it looks like, maybe he'll have his final matches there, which, God bless him and all these different things. But I would love to hear his take on this, and what it means. Obviously, this isn't something that would have happened under a different WWE. I think this is something that can really only happen under Triple H and Nick Khan's WWE and where they want to take it and how they want to develop talent. But for AEW, I don't think you can offer the same type of trajectory in terms of you're a newer talent. WWE has the Next in Line program for college athletes. They have the ID program now for independent wrestlers to find a way and work their way into WWE in those ranks. And they have NXT, where they're already developing TV-ready talent. Now they have TNA essentially as maybe like a AAA, like, hey, if you're really ready or we don't have something for you, we want to keep you going, and you aren't going to get Raw or SmackDown compensation, but you're going to get exposure and TV reps, then we have you on TNA Impact on Thursdays.
But now, I think we're going to see some of them on the main roster, and I really do think the Royal Rumble, there's a chance that Jordynne Grace could win this thing, the way she looks. The way they've been planting her. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, this could be her,
to me,
her break.
Yeah, I mean, you really want to test this, you show off some of those TNA talents in those Royal Rumble matches. And if you don't have them win, you put them in a position where they could. You put them in a position where you're like, ooh, that Jordynne Grace almost won that. Even having her, like, because she was near like the final 5 or the final 4 when they had her in the first one, right? Yeah. If you put Joe Hendry in there and you just have him in the mix with big names, and you have a lot of people who are like, I've heard of Joe Hendry. I don't know who he is exactly. I've heard of him, right? You have that curiosity factor, and you just make them look good. I think that's enough of a needle mover. No matter what, this is a significant thing. It was going in this direction, but the fact that they're doing this now, right before the Royal Rumble, a few weeks away in Indianapolis, and we have WrestleMania on the horizon, and you have a lot of people saying that even though AEW signed this new TV deal, that their back is against the wall to kind of turn the corner and turn the ship and right everything that they're doing here and have a better 2025. For them, I don't know where the trajectory is to develop talent. You know what I mean? And someone's also bringing this up. Is Jordynne Grace's TNA contract coming up? Reportedly it is, but we don't. Yeah, we've heard that reportedly is. She will be taking on Tessa Blanchard this Sunday at the Genesis pay-per-view, which is now being advertised as TNA Genesis NXT. We don't know what that means. We don't know what NXT talent that isn't already advertised will be a part of the show. My assumption is we will get a clarification on that, and they'll announce some big matches or some big things coming up there. Yeah. How you doing, Paul? Thanks for watching.
I think that Vince McMahon is, of course, watching all of this. There's no way he's out of the business, so to say, but I'm sure he knows everything that's going on. And I think that this, as I said, this is something that never would have happened under his watch. And I would love to be a fly on the wall at the dinner table when he and Stephanie are talking. Oh, I'm sorry, when he and Linda. Actually, he and Linda aren't together. So when he and whoever is eating dinner with him, what his response would be to this.
And then you have some people that are just like, it's wrestling. I don't care. It's WWE. They're so big now and ominous and over everything. Like Ethel saying, I really don't care. I like all wrestling. They have no allegiances.
That's like you and I.
Yeah,
we like everything.
We're pro wrestling before we're pro one company or another.
And I always say support the indies. And the other thing, as I mentioned, this is an opportunity for TNA to bring in more people from the indies and maybe to eventually funnel them to WWE in a partnership deal. Not, if they get a super talent, are they going to want to keep that person under TNA contract, or is it going to be I wonder if they can do a double type of contract that we share Kevin Kell, Double K. We want him in TNA and NXT, so we make a shared contract. I don't think that's ever been done, a shared contract.
There's some talents that have done that in Japan. I know.
Japan, but not here.
Takeshita, who is with AEW, he has like a triple deal with like DDT Wrestling in New Japan and AEW, and he has a handful of dates that he can commit to each. But it's a wild time to follow the wrestling business. Certainly really interesting. If you're watching on demand, would love to hear your take on this. Obviously, Bill Apter, very busy on the Wrestle Binge channel for Sportskeeda. Search Wrestle Binge on YouTube.
Yes. So while I got you here.
Yeah. Bill?
While I've got you here, let's look at your... Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Bill. Go ahead.
Can you see me? Can you
Yes,
hear
I
me?
can. Yeah. Oh, we got a super
Can you
chat
see
coming
me?
here. Yes, I can. I got a
Well,
super
let's
chat.
go.
I want to get this in here. This one from Bushing Ryu Cat. He goes, 2 things I want from WWE. 1, get AJ. I assume you're talking about AJ Styles to join and lead the TNA roster as a world champion. 2, WWE copyrights the name.
Wait. Hold on. Before we go there, Bush and Roy Cat, what a great freaking idea. Okay, go ahead.
And then number 2, this one's just petty, Bill. This one's just petty and mean. He says, WWE copyrights the name Death Rider so TKA can end this dumb story over in AEW. Thank you, Ryu Cat. I appreciate your super chat. We take all super chats. They go to the front of the line. I appreciate that. I'll talk about the
I'm going to
AJ.
tell you something.
Go
I'm
ahead.
going to tell you something regarding that I thought of the other day when somebody was asking me about AEW. And I'm going to tell you something that they need the mentality of. If you talk about WWE, they have I'm going to use the word elite, nothing to do with it, but they have an elite roster of about 7 to 10 main guys that fans can rattle their names off if asked. AEW mixes their talent so much, I'm not sure who they're using as their top guys, so to say. They don't have that one level of, you're going to get Seth Rollins, a Roman Reigns, a Drew McIntyre. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
They
There's a
have
sense
those
of
guys there, but they don't put them in an order where you know who your main guys are anymore.
they have context. You know who they are, they know what they are, they know why they're there, you know how they're there, like that type of thing. So keep the comments coming. Appreciate that. Once again, the latest on this story as it develops and kind of comes together and we get the reaction of the industry and fans alike as at sportskeeda.com/WWE. Of course, we also have pages covering TNA, AEW, everything wrestling, all in one place. You can optimize the entire experience. Before we're off here, I know we got your take on this with Unscripted. But the big debut on Monday Night Raw with Pentagon. Talk about an outside talent. He's with AEW. He was in TNA. They brought that up on Monday night, by the way. They mentioned that he was a TNA World Champion. I thought that was very interesting. And now we get this announcement. Pentagon, his debut. It was a big deal. What'd you think of it, Bill?
I wanted it to be a big deal.
Did you feel it was? Because I did. I mean, they gave him a lot of time. They gave him like 20 minutes of time to do that.
Okay, but here's my honest thing. I was sitting on my recliner, and I put this in my newsletter this week. See, I was waiting when he came down. I was like, oh, in the recliner. I couldn't wait to see him because I had seen him in Lucha Underground. I had seen him in AEW, of course. But I would have liked to have seen him in a squash match with a lesser talented opponent than Chad Gable. The reason being, 6 minutes into that match, I said, this guy's getting killed. What's going on here? I mean, it was tremendous toward the finish, and he sold his leg injury really well, but it wasn't the Penta that I saw in AEW because he had an opponent that was equally adept and maybe even more so in some ways. To me, Chad Gable came out looking like the magnificent superstar.
Even though he lost. Even though he lost.
If you look at the match again, the ring work, Penta was working from underneath a lot of the time there. So I would have liked to have seen him like in the old school. You bring a new guy in, and there were fans who didn't know who he is too. A lot of fans that aren't these elite fans that don't watch AEW, that don't watch Lucha Underground. They may not have known him. And I wanted to see that spectacular kill him in 6 minutes with all my best stuff type of thing, like they used to do in the old days, as they said. They always brought in what they called a jobber back then. But Chad Gable was too damn good for that opening match.
This TNA NXT story or WWE TNA story was one of my predictions I made a few weeks ago. We had a podcast over on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel, and I predicted that they would have more. That WWE would announce more official partnerships with outside promotions, and then like 2 weeks later, we get one of these. So for everything with Bill Apter,
they listen to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Bill. Obviously, Bill, you are quite busy as well with the Wrestling Time Machine, which people can check out. You, along with Mac Davis and Teddy Long, that is also active over on Wrestle Binge. A whole lot of content, a bunch of different interviews, a whole lot of Bill Apter. And then
what
I need to
about
mention,
Backstage Pass?
I was just about to bring it up.
You're
You're unearthing.
I read your mind. I read your
Yeah.
mind, but I've got a weekly newsletter that if you loved what I did in the magazine days, this is very reminiscent of the format of the magazines. And Bob Smith, one of the old PWI editors, is on that show. Joe Lowry, they've got shows with JBL and Gerald Briscoe. They got the Bro Show, of course, with Vince Russo. And there's so much great content. It's on Patreon. Just look for Backstage Pass, Sportskeeda.
There you go. And if you're on YouTube, you can get a lot of that through our YouTube membership, which starts about $2 to $5. That's over on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube channel. Just search Patreon as well. You can get all access there. Well worth it. I spend money on it. I'm happy with it. You get the scoops with WrestleVotes as well. There's some fresh YouTube right there. If you want to watch it on YouTube, it's available on YouTube as well. So go get it.
Well, thank you for letting me and you do this impromptu thing. And again, the big news, if you're just tuning in, and we're going to share the link on all our social media platforms. If you're just tuning in, it's official. TNA and WWE are now harmonious, and there's a contract signed, and they're going to be working with each other, and I can't wait to see what happens.
All right. For the latest on everything wrestling, sportskeeda.com/WWE. And of course, turn your notifications on so you can get more live videos and live streams from us right here, wherever you get your wrestling content. Get it from us. Thanks a lot, everybody. Bye.
We'll see you at the matches. You know, I had to say that.
You had to. Oh, one more question. I have one more critical question.
Oh, yeah.
This pro wrestling thing, is it fixed? Is pro wrestling fixed?
Are you asking me, is wrestling fixed? Is that what you're asking me?
Go get the book. Is wrestling fixed?
Kevin, I didn't know it was broken.
All right, we'll see everybody. Thanks for